Which is harder, respiratory therapist or father of three under the age of one?
Option B, sir. Option B.
You got quite the busy house, I would imagine. How are things right now?
Wonderful. Everybody's doing great. And like you said, it's pretty busy.
Busy is an understatement. Dave Suleiman, a respiratory therapist at Chicago's Northwestern Memorial Hospital, found out his wife was pregnant at the end of 2019. The couple was overjoyed because they've been trying to start a family for the last 5 years.
Take me back. What was that like?
We had a pregnancy that we'd been fighting for forever. So we had anticipated a June baby, but then we found out some complications early periods of January that, we had some severe complications that might jeopardize this pregnancy. So my wife, Jennifer, was admitted in the hospital for observation. Somehow, some way, Jaden showed up, said, "Hey, I'm here." A little too early, a lot too early.
The couple's joy was soon tempered by the fear surrounding the premature birth of their son, Jaden, born at just 23 weeks last February, just weeks before the COVID-19 pandemic began.
You've got a brand new baby who has a number of health complications.
Yes.
And at the same time, you're on the front lines of fighting this virus that we knew very little about at that point.
Right.
How were you just managing the stress of it all?
Work and the family were very, very separated at that time. What I'm dealing with outside of the hospital shouldn't really affect how I'm caring for a patient at the hospital. But yes, it was not going to be easy.
Day visited his son in the NICU after his own long shifts at the hospital, spent working with patients on life support and putting himself at a very high risk for contracting the virus.
Was I afraid and worried about taking the virus over there? Absolutely. But I still try my best to put every precaution in place, a shower, a change of clothing, and even when I get to the NICU side of things, extra gear just to have some protection to be around him.
So we have a newborn with some health complications.
Yes.
We have the start of a pandemic. And then we find out we're pregnant again.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, it's twins.
Yes. So that did happen.
The twins, Janelle and Jordan, were born December 16th, 2020, just a few months after their firstborn, Jaden, was released from his extended time in the NICU.
I was elated. This was ecstasy. And this was another set of kids that I have to do everything in my power to just protect, to just cherish.
Which is harder, respiratory therapist or father of three under the age of one?
Option B, sir. Option B. I mean, I've been around here enough to where I can manage myself. But if two kids are screaming, I'm confused oftentimes. I'm trying to figure out food, diaper, what is going on? Do you have a stomach ache? You're not talking, you're just screaming. Help me out, child.
The fact that all of this was going on as a pandemic raged, did that make it maybe even sweeter?
For me, yes. Having people not being able to come see their family members in their absolute most critical moments was pretty challenging, and watching people die with no one here for them. So finding out, there's some exciting thing going on, it puts a smile on my face after every shift. Once I leave here, let me go find out about what's going on this end of the spectrum where everything looks, a little challenging, but great. This is another rainbow situation for me.
So this shows if they have stuff back yet. So
when the pandemic hit last spring, Dr. Michael Torre was just 6 months into his career in emergency medicine, working alongside his father, Dr. Paul Torre, at Houston's Memorial Hermann Hospital.
He always kind of seemed interested in, pursuing a career in medicine. I never pushed him. I never pushed any of my kids.
So growing up, he would kind of talk medicine here or there, just high school, college. He would say things, how he did this, did that, and we always thought it was cool. When I started doing emergency medicine, then we could really talk very specific about what's going on, what we're doing, and really, connect about it.
But the sweetness of reaching that career goal turned sour as the pandemic surged in the Houston area last summer. filling emergency rooms.
Pandemic came 6 months into his career. There was a lot of fear. Am I going to get this stuff and then wind up in a box, or is it going to happen to my family?
Pretty much almost after every shift, we'll call each other and be like, I did this today.
Oh, yeah.
Just like, I saw this today. What about you? And I think that helps without really explicitly saying, I need help.
The father-son team was put to the test on one of their first shifts working together.
There's certain things we do to resuscitate critical people, and we got to work on someone and help them out and do the critical care procedures that we've been trained to do together at the same time.
He needed something, I just was handing it to him before he asked for it, and vice versa. I needed help doing something, and he was just ready right there.
Medicine in general is teamwork, and when you're in one place for a while, you know how your team works, and this is our first time working together, and it was teamwork like we've been doing it for years.
But we have.
Dr. Justin Reed, a resident physician at St. Joseph's Medical Center in Mishawaka, Indiana, and a father of 5, had a busy life before the pandemic hit, but it was nothing compared to what his family has endured this past year.
I get home, everything was going directly into the washing machine, and then I was going to shower. My kids are waiting for me when I come home, excited to see me, want to jump on me, tell me about their day, but we weren't allowing it.
Acknowledging the psychological strain of the pandemic on his team, Justin's supervisor asked him to write a short essay about how he was coping. At a loss for words, Justin decided to make a drawing instead.
It's me outside of a glass window, kneeling down, reaching out my hand to my son. And then in the background, I've got flaming arrows sticking out of me. It just kind of captured the way I was feeling at the time. And I think the way a lot of us were feeling.
Tragedy struck the family in December when Justin's father-in-law and grandfather both contracted COVID-19. His father-in-law suffered a COVID-induced stroke from which he is still recovering, and his grandfather fell victim to the disease. The pair said goodbye to each other via iPads from separate hospital beds.
Grandpa couldn't speak because he was on oxygen mask, and father-in-law couldn't speak because of the stroke, and so they just cried, and it was a pretty harrowing, touching experience.
Explaining it all to his 5 kids has been the hardest part of it all.
There's been hard moments, but overall they just were willing to go with it, and they wore their masks. And even my 5-year-old, when we go out and see somebody not wearing a mask or not wearing it properly, we'll point it out and say, doesn't that guy know he could catch COVID?
With vaccines rolling out across the country and hospitalization rates declining, Justin is planning on making a new drawing to express the hope he's feeling now.
But this time, walking through that door and picking up and holding my son with my mask in my hand instead of on my face, and with a sticker that says I got vaccinated. That's the feeling that I have now, and grateful to be on this side of it.